We are live and on the air with the midweek edition of Legal AF. And look who it is, Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, and Michael Popok back again at that intersection of law and politics. Oh my God, my head is about to explode. We have so much law and politics to talk about. And we're going to, today we're going to, at the intersection of law and politics that we like to sit at. We're going to talk about the DC election interference case. So many new orders have come out. So many new motions have been filed. And we've been waiting with bated breath and salivating for the appendix. It was the appendix all along. Where is the appendix? We've been waiting on this appendectomy by Judge Chutkan. And yet it didn't come out yet. We expect it later tonight. Could be while we're doing the live. Could be tomorrow morning. But she gave Donald Trump 7 days to go explore litigation options, whatever that means. He apparently explored them, found that there were no litigation options, and hasn't done a darn thing about it in a week to stop the appendix from being revealed to the public in all of its glory. And maybe we'll keep an eye on the docket. Maybe it'll happen while we're doing it. We've known Judge Chutkan to not only move quickly with a velocity of which we're not familiar in federal court, but she also does things late at night. So who knows? It could happen. But a lot of other things got filed. We have Jack Smith basically telling Donald Trump and his lawyers that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the Supreme Court's Fisher decision about what can and can't be indicted under the obstruction of an official proceeding provision. They misinterpret it. And Jack Smith is here to set Judge Chutkan straight. It's important because it has to do with two major crimes that have been alleged in the superseding indictment. And the superseding indictment was obtained by Jack Smith after the Fisher decision. He had the benefit of the Fisher decision about what you can and can't indict under what kind of behavior you can and can't indict. So we'll talk about that. And then Judge Chutkan just dropped, boom, 50-page order today about Donald Trump's request for 16 categories of additional documents that he demands to support his defenses from 9 different subparts of the government, from the intelligence community to the other parts of the Department of Justice. And I'm not sure that Judge Chutkan's buying any of that. We'll talk about her 50 pages. We'll unpack all that. Then we're going to go to Georgia. We're back to Judge Mcburney. I love Judge Mcburney. He issued not one but 2 decisions in the last 48 hours that shoves back at MAGA's attempt to hijack the Georgia election. And we'll get to the politics portion of this in a minute. Georgia's so important. If let's just be frank, if Kamala Harris wins Georgia as part of her electoral map, she will crush MAGA and maybe put them and us out of our misery of ever having to deal with Donald Trump again. And who knows, maybe for the second time in 32 years, a Democrat will win Georgia. Early voting suggests it's looking good. Double the amount, Karen, of who voted in 2020 has already voted on day one of the Georgia early voting. And that's a great sign for Democrats. And there's a new order from Judge Scott. I didn't even know there was a matter before Judge Scott in Georgia, right before we went on the air, in which he declared illegal all of the Trump election board last-minute rule changes in order to benefit Donald Trump at the polls and the counting and the certification. And we'll talk about that as well. And then finally, Trump is, I don't know how else to put this. Trump is threatening American citizens with internment camps and using the military against them, claiming that they are the enemy within. And then if you thought, well, maybe he misspoke, maybe he meant something else, he then doubled down on it and named who the enemy within was. And they were all American citizens, including other elected officials like Nancy Pelosi and the Adam Schiff out in California. Can he do that? We'll talk about the series of laws that would prevent him from doing that, assuming the Supreme Court does anything about it. But that's like a full plate today, right, Karen? Come on.
Absolutely a full plate. And you're so punchy today. You're in like such a good mood, Popok.
I don't know why. I got my eagle on my sweater. See my eagle on my sweater? For those that are, there it is. I don't know. I just am... there's just so much excitement. It's the excitement of the 20 days or less or whatever it is to the election and how well Kamala is doing. Let's just kick it off with the politics. We'll get into the law and politics. So I don't know how much of this you were able to see. I know you were doing a little bit of traveling Karen, but this is the juxtaposition for the American people. You've got Kamala Harris going in the belly of the beast and doing an interview on Fox in Pennsylvania with Bret Baier, pardon me, in which she does masterfully. He's an a-hole. Sorry. He interrupted her a number of times, which was like, he would never do that to a man. And I'll say that out loud. But she held her own because she's going to be the commander in chief and she's going to be the president of the United States, and she needs to. And, they tussled about immigration and some other ridiculous things. She goes and does that. At the same time, Donald Trump, in an earlier recorded town hall, only women were invited, and not just any women. It appears that Fox planted a number of Republican women that were personally invited to see the audience and cheer and clap for Donald Trump. Like he's at like it's a 7th grade birthday party or a 7-year-old birthday party. And so Donald Trump, who's busy attacking CBS and all these other news organizations for, they should lose their licenses. They rigged it. It was rigged and editing was rigged. What about when you rig the audience in a town hall where he claimed that he was the father, that's an interesting choice of words, of IVF. We're going to talk more about the father of IVF, Kamala Harris's response to that, when she then appears on a stage with 12 Republicans, top people, all endorsing her at a campaign rally stop in Pennsylvania, right? And then Donald Trump threatens the American people with using the military against them because he claims they're the enemy of the people. And he's going to also invoke war powers, and he's going to invoke the Alien Enemies Act, if he ever gets back into office, in order to throw out, 11 million people here through immigration policy, including Americans. That was just which part of that did you see? And I'm going to kick it over to you now.
Well, I'll tell you, I more can't get over the dissembling before our very eyes when he did that rally with the puppy killer, whatever her name is. The Christine Nome or whatever her name was supposed to be her comeback tour. And suddenly he kind of loses his mind and they turn the music on and he's standing there for more than 30 minutes looking like, frankly, somebody who is dissembling before our very eyes. I mean,
we have the clip.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we have the clip, and
we do.
He keeps tweeting that he's so healthy and his medical records are so much better than Kamala Harris's, and he's perfect this and perfect that. Well, release it, because frankly, he looks like he is deteriorating before our very eyes. And it's not only, it would be weird, except that he's trying to be the commander in chief. And so it's terrifying and dangerous. It's absolutely shocking. That's the thing that I can't get over. Playing YMCA.
Yeah, Salty, roll the clip and then we'll comment on him. We got a clip.
Let's not do any more questions. Let's just listen to music. Let's make it into a music. Who the hell wants to hear questions, right? Isn't that beautiful, though? It's so beautiful. We played that in Butler, Pennsylvania. We had a moment of silence, and then we had the bells of Notre Dame go off, and then we had a great opera singer, Christopher, who was so incredible, and a great, great opera singer.
Oh, we don't have him. We don't have him dancing. At one point, he danced to the gay anthem YMCA and to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which resulted in a cease and desist letter from the estate of Leonard Cohen and Rufus Wainwright to tell him to stop doing that. What are we watching in the final days of this campaign?
Also, by the way, if you listen carefully, he sounds like he's slurring his speech. There is something going on there that is just not there's some in addition to the fact that he recently, it was widely reported, experienced some incontinence issues, right? And I just think he's got some health issues that we have a right to know about if this is somebody who thinks he's going to be, and first of all, he's unfit 10 ways to Sunday in every way. But I think in addition to his psychiatric issues, his narcissism, his sociopathic tendencies, and frankly, the fact that he can't tell the truth about anything, I think that now we have some serious medical issues going on, because this is just not normal. It was actually shocking. It was how I felt, frankly, when I watched the debate with Biden and Trump when everyone was said, he needs to step down and he can't run. This absolutely Trump is at that point now, and hopefully someone will step in. It's just crazy. I mean, because really what we're voting for Vance, because Trump is not going to be able to serve for 4 years. So if you like President Vance, if you think that guy is the guy who should be our next president, then go ahead and vote, because Trump's game here is to win the presidency so he can dismiss all the cases against him, pardon himself and all his friends and family, and then I'm sure he'll, he's not, or just kind of, right off into the sunset and hand it over to Vance. He doesn't want to serve 4 more years. He's not fit to serve 4 more years. He just wants to. This has always been his get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Think of the 4 things that he's done since that bullet whizzed by his head in Butler, Pennsylvania. And to tell me that this shows proper judgment. Very first thing he did was pick Vance the next day. I mean, and how's that going for him? This 49-year-old fabulist who can't keep his story straight. I love the chubby cheeked, beardless. I like chubby cheeked, beardless people now. I like the chubby cheeked, beardless Vance from 4 or 5 years ago when he was shilling his book, saying what we always knew, that Donald Trump's an idiot, that he's a loser, that he is the opium or the heroin in the needle of America's arm, that he is America's Hitler. That was J.D. Vance. So he picks J.D. Vance. The very next thing he does is he forms an alliance with RFK Jr., that vax denying, bear cub killing, brain worm eating guy, hoping to get his, I don't know what voters that he was able to deliver. That was his second major event, his second major decision. His third was all of this stuff that he's done during not only the debates, pardon me, but now I thought the low point, the nadir, was the 26-minute mark in the debate. Pardon me, I have a little tickle today. Pardon me, guys. 26 minutes into the debate when he said, they're eating your pets. They're eating your cats and dogs. I'm like, oh, could he go any lower? And now I got to hear him threaten the American people, fellow Americans, with using the U.S. military on them as the enemy of the people, which is a violation. We'll go over it at the appropriate time. A violation of at least 3 different laws on the books since the Civil War, just after the Civil War, and double down and triple down on it. And then you have this weird, who's any questions? Questions. We the music. Let's play the music. We can't play the music because we got a copyright problem. But we would normally show you him, whatever that was, to whatever that is. If that's not him completely gassed mentally, emotionally, and otherwise, and he won't release his medical records. So we know, because any normal human being that had some sort of whatever roll by his ear, he would have some sort of concussive syndrome. And yet he's out. And the last major decision that I did a hot take on recently on the new channel, Legal AF MTN, is that he's outsourced his entire get out the vote campaign to Elon Musk, who's never done that before. And you know how things go when Elon takes over an entity that he's never done before, because we saw what he did to Twitter and X. And so he has no idea what he's doing. He's just spending money like a drunken sailor. Sorry, sailors. And he spent $200 million. He's got $200 million in from various donors. He hasn't set up a ground game. He hasn't set up field offices. He hasn't set up knock on doors, getting souls to polls. He's pissed off DeSantis in Florida. So DeSantis isn't mobilizing for Donald Trump, imperiling the ability for Donald Trump to win Florida. And he's got to win Florida. But this is what you get. This is what you get when you have Donald Trump. And I agree with you. I like that analysis. What explains it all is he doesn't give a shit. And he just wants to make it to the finish line. Or as I said, like the 7-year-old during a game of tag who just needs to get to the safety base to beat out the prosecutions in order to wave a magic wand. And then he can say, all right, you're right. 40-year-old J.D. Vance, it's all yours.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I think is happening. I mean, it's just really terrifying. And what's the answer? Get out and vote. Everybody go out and vote. I was so proud. My youngest, who's 20 years old, actually filled out her registration form tonight, and we're putting it in the mail tomorrow. And I'm thrilled, that young people are dying to vote, frankly, and that it's so important to them. Whatever that inertia was that was around a while back is not the case right now. And I think that's amazing. And despite the fact that Trump is doing everything he can by filing all these lawsuits, these election lawsuits, and having people file them in all the swing states so that he has lawsuits pending that he can essentially hit the go button if he loses in any of the swing jurisdictions, and he'll claim all sorts of things, right? He'll claim election interference, he'll claim dead people are voting, he'll claim that illegal people are voting, whatever the horrible lies he will tell, and he'll get it so that he'll try to convince the states, because he couldn't convince Mike Pence not to certify the election. Of course, he's not going to convince Kamala Harris, whose turn it will be this time, to not certify. So his goal now is to figure out how to get the states not to certify the election so that he can try to steal it once again. The only answer is to get out the vote so that we can win by a landslide, not by anything that can be questioned by anybody. And that's the only way this time. And so everybody has to vote. Tell everyone you know to go out and register and vote. It counts. It matters.
Yeah, I want to turn what the Republicans say on their head. They say we got to make the vote too big to rig. Okay, we just have to make the vote in the Electoral College so large that we crush MAGA once and for all, and put Trump out of his misery, and end this long national nightmare that is the threat of the return of the Trump presidency. Let's talk about.
I loved your interview with Judge Ludwig.
Oh, Ludwig. Yeah.
Ludwig, yeah, sorry. It was so good. But my favorite thing that he said was, this isn't an election about left versus right. It's an election, left versus right. It's an election about democracy. And it's really, it's about right versus wrong, is I think the way he put it. And it just was so smart, because it's true. Our very democracy is at stake in this election. And, I have a lot of friends, I'm sure everybody on social media has close friends who are Trump supporters. And, they post things like gas prices during Trump, that they claim was much lower under Trump. Or they post things like egg prices. I mean, that seems to be the one thing that gets people motivated. But it's just interesting to me that nobody, that these low information voters, or whatever you want to call them, people who just sort of don't really dive as deep as we do in all this stuff, that's all they think about. They don't realize that our liberties, our democracy, people talk about how fragile democracy is. I never quite understood it until now, what they mean by that. But really, our freedoms, our way of life, our independence, and our democracy, that's what's at stake at this election. It's not about whether you are somebody who believes in the left or the right. I was on an airplane, and it was kind of a long flight, and so I watched this HBO series called The Regime with Kate Winslet. I think it was like 6 or 8 episodes, and it's just about a fictitious European, Middle Europe country. And it was fascinating, because it's all about how these alliances and annexing these, it's just all about kind of what's going to happen if Trump gets elected, and the alliances that he is setting up with dictators, who wants to get out of NATO, and he's setting it up so that Putin and all his other dictators that he seems to really like and call and spend time with and forge alliances with, and they're preparing a really scary world. And it's not just the United States. It really is terrifying what he's trying to do to this country, and what his followers are trying to do to this country. So it's just really important to get out the vote, obviously, more than ever this time.
Who's not a low information voter? Our audience. Anyone that's part of the Midas Mighty or the Legal AFers. We got almost 10,000 of them here watching us live record this Midas Touch Legal AF YouTube midweek. And if I could reach out and hug, maybe you don't want that. If I could shake the hand of everybody that is on this channel, I know Karen would do the same thing. We would, because without you, there's no us. I mean that seriously. And we're gonna get off the politics and go to the intersection of law and politics Next, we're going to talk about update you all on the DC election interference case, what's going to happen before the election. That's important. What's not going to happen before the election. And then we're going to teach you a little bit about criminal discovery and the exchange of documents and the government's obligations and the burden on the defense, on their defenses. And that'll be fun. Sort of a breakout legal AF law school moment. Got to go to Georgia. Got to go for two reasons. We got Fani Willis is not taking no for an answer. And she's seeking to have the 6 counts that were dismissed against Donald Trump, including related to that infamous phone call where he was just looking for 11,000 votes, just trying to extort the Secretary of State of Georgia. And then there's an appeal related to that. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, what Judge Mcburney and another judge has done in order to shove the state election board, which I like to call the Trump election board, off its axis as they try to pass all sorts of last-minute new rules since they got control of the board at the Georgia level, including one. I'll just give you just a teaser on this one. Hand counting the night of the election, every voting machine, every precinct, and every county in Georgia, and have that done in 2 days. That was a rule until some judges said, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen for this election. We'll talk about that. And then the attacks on America and Americans by Donald Trump and the threats and what it means. And what it means when a person running for the highest office of the land looks the American people in the eye and says, I am going to use the U.S. military against you because I find you to be an enemy. And I find you to be criminal, and I'm going to weaponize the Department of Justice and other investigative agencies and go after you. And what we can do about it. I always like to leave these podcasts with what the call to action, what to do about it in the remaining 20 days. There's a lot of things you can do here, and you are doing here on Legal AF. One of them is this. I got to really thank the audience for this. We are at only the 28-day mark in building the new pro-democracy YouTube channel in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. Legal AF and Midas Touch got together and said, we got so much to talk about at the intersection of law and politics. We're bursting at the seams. We got to spread our wings. We need a new channel. And I'm the chief curator over there of a new channel called Legal AF MTN for Midas Touch Network. And in 28 days, we have 222,000 subscribers. It's unheard of. It's one of the fastest channel builds I've ever seen. We're going to get to I think we're going to easily get to the 250,000 I said by October, by Halloween. And that's all because of you. And just taking a moment, that's another vote that counts. Free subscribe to Legal AF MTN, bring friends and family, and subscribe as many times as they allow you. That'll be very helpful. Other ways to support the show is support the other podcasters here that have other shows, including Mistrial. We have a graphic for Mistrial. It's coming. Mistrial. Thursdays, tomorrow, Karen Friedman Agnifilo anchors it along with Tanya Perry and Kathleen Rice, a unique perspective brought by former prosecutors, tough as nails. I like the way that sounds. Tough as nails prosecutors, and they'll give their spin at the intersection of law and politics tomorrow. And then we got our sponsors, which we handpicked. We use the products. We endorse the products for a reason. They know what we're going to say generally, and they like it and they love it, and they want to attract an audience as clients, as customers. If you can afford it and you like the item, you like the product, try it out. At least watch the video. It really helps us keep the lights on at our network. Some people are like, well, I don't like the commercials. Well, listen, there's a fast forward button if you want to watch it later, but we need the sponsors in order to continue to grow our network, our channels, our work. The Midas Touch has 9 podcasts or so that it has. It has a brand new a Substack called Midas Plus. Legal AF's going to have a Midas Plus, a Plus for Substack. I mean, the stuff, listen, nobody works for free. Let's just leave it at that. But we really, really appreciate our sponsors. And here is our first batch. Let's do some brainstorming. What's something that works so well that it's basically magic? Like air conditioning, noise-canceling headphones, meetings-free Fridays. What about selling with Shopify? Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're delivering daily news digest and hot takes on law and politics or serving up sensational scoops, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms, and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify makes it easy for you to show up exactly the way you want to. Customize your online store to your style with gorgeous flexible templates and powerful tools. Once you start selling, Shopify makes getting paid simple by instantly accepting every type of payment. And Shopify grows with your business no matter how far or big you grow, thanks to an endless list of integrations and third-party apps. Anything you can think of, from on-demand printing to accounting to chatbots, everything you need to revolutionize your business. What I love about Shopify is how it turbocharges your dreams to make them a reality, so that no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify's the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's extensive help resources are there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/legalaf, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/legalaf in lowercase now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/legalaf. I have a secret weapon. No, it's not my stylish eyewear, although I do like them. It's my ability to always find a parking spot on the streets of Manhattan, despite complicated alternate side of the street parking rules and conflicting street signs that make no sense. A secret weapon is a great asset to have in your back pocket. It helps you get ahead in life. That's how Mack Weldon thinks about clothing, as a secret weapon. Timeless, classic style that's infused with performance fabrics and hidden details. Whether you're looking for light as air underwear, anti-odor tees, or sweaters with lightweight warmth, Mack Weldon has a full range of clothes that feel comfortable all day long. And they never go out of style. Mack Weldon and their comfortable yet modern and stylish clothing means that when I reach for their clothes in my closet and put them on to tackle my day, I instantly feel confident that my clothes are making the right impression on people I may meet or when I record. It's always the perfect fit, wash after wash, and how my clothes look is now one less thing I have to worry about to start my busy day. It's not just that they are soft to the touch and on the body. It's that they are reliably cut and designed to signal to the world, I got this. And, hey, don't tow my car, please. They're not flashy, just classic. Always in style and made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. Mack Weldon clothes are designed to fit your style and the demands of modern life. They look like regular clothes, but feel like the latest in modern comfort. They're the go-to choice for guys who want to look great without even trying. And if you aren't convinced yet, well, wait until you try Mack Weldon's crazy comfortable but elevated sweatpants in their Ace collection. You won't go anywhere else for high performance and comfortable, classically cut clothes again. Get timeless looks with modern comfort from Mack Weldon. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code LegalAF. That's MackWeldon.com, promo code LegalAF. And we are back with my revolving door of facial hair and haircuts and glasses. It's almost like a new person every time. Even I'm shocked sometimes. So let's talk about shocking things that happened in the DC election interference case. Not the one we were hoping for. It may come any minute now. I keep checking the docket. What we're waiting for is the 500-page plus, tractor trailer load of evidence, supplemental evidence that backs every line in the 165-page brief filed by Jack Smith a couple of weeks ago. It's been with the lawyers. It's been with the judge, just not in the public domain yet, because they've been waiting for Donald Trump to, quote unquote, explore litigation options, which we thought was like a veiled threat at the judge, but he hasn't done a darn thing. Never filed anything. Judge knew he wasn't going to do that. Because you know why? Because she's smarter than he is, and definitely smarter than his lawyers. So nothing gets filed. She's going to hit publish, I guess, tonight or tomorrow. You and I will, oh my God, we'll go through all of our ink and our printer to print this thing out and circle everything. There's going to be a lot of new evidence in there that we haven't heard from before, that the American people are either going to accept, find interesting as reported, or ignore, depending upon where your vote is. That's what we're waiting on. You want to take it from Karen? Why don't you take it from what we know has already been filed, and what do we think is going to happen based on those things? You want to take the Discovery one or the Jack Smith one on the Congress obstruction charge?
Sure. We'll start with the obstruction charge one. Well, so essentially what's going on now is, if you recall, that there's a Supreme Court case, Fisher versus the United States, that came down and said that two of the counts that he's charged with, so it's obstruction of an official proceeding, 18 U.S. Code Section 1512. Fisher essentially said that in order to charge that charge or be convicted of that charge, you have to have interfered with documents in some way. You have to have, there has to be something tangible that you had to have used to obstruct the official proceeding, because it came, it basically came out of a white collar situation. And so as a result, that's what that ruled. And it affected a small number of the Jan 6 cases, people who were only charged with that, and that they basically didn't do something active like that. But the question has always been, how is that going to impact this particular case? And Jack Smith filed his brief and filed it in the Tanya Chutkan DC case, saying essentially why the defendant's new arguments. That's how the brief started. It said the defendant's new arguments, basically trying to, because this has been litigated and gone back and forth between them a couple of times anyway already, but now the defendant's Trump is making new arguments, and he's wrapping them in the immunity decision to say, oh, now you have to dismiss the whole indictment because of both the immunity decision and this Fisher case, right? But he's essentially trying to dismiss counts 2 and 3, which are the obstruction of an official proceeding and conspiring to obstruct the official proceeding. And Jack Smith really hit back pretty hard and said, look, the Fisher case, first of all, didn't invalidate 1512, but you are making this as an argument now, and it's really a jury question. It's not a pleading question that you're asking for, because there's certain pleading requirements in an indictment. And what is an indictment, right? An indictment is just a way to inform the defendant of what the charges are. It's required by law that prosecutors have to do it. It's a bare bones document that you set forth. What are you charged with, and what are the essential elements, the facts that support the elements? Not all your evidence, not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's reasonable cause or probable cause to believe that a crime has occurred, and you have to set it out. And the actual standard that has to be in an indictment, the relevant inquiry that a judge makes when they look at whether an indictment is pled sufficiently, is whether sufficient allegations provide a, quote, statement of the essential facts constituting the offense charged and adequately inform the defendant of the crime or crimes with which he is charged. And that comes from case law and from Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, and it's all cited in the brief. And so that's really the question. And so it's a Rule 12B analysis that the judge looks at the indictment and the sufficiency, and basically looks at the motion and says, are the allegations in the superseding indictment now, because that's the indictment that has the charges, are the allegations sufficient to permit the jury to find that the crimes charged were committed? That's it. If you want to say, and clearly this superseding indictment that Jack Smith has set forth, Fisher came out before he did the superseding indictment. He knows what's required to be pled. And so guess what he did? He pled the facts in the superseding indictment that talks about how Trump essentially either impaired the records, documents, or objects or other things used in the proceeding. How did he do that? By making fake electoral certificates, or causing them to be made, or conspiring to have these fake electoral certificates to be made and delivered to the archives, delivered to Congress, right? And that's what he was trying to do and attempted to do when he, Fisher explicitly, by the way, says that it applies when you are creating false evidence. And that's what he is alleged to have done. Whether he did it or not, that's for a jury to decide. That's where you present your evidence, you cross-examine the evidence, and then whether or not the prosecutor, who would be Jack Smith in this case, meets that beyond a reasonable doubt, that's what the jury decides. But was it pled sufficiently? Was it alleged sufficiently? Was it written down sufficiently? That's what the inquiry is here. And Jack Smith basically was like, yeah, we had Fisher. I know what's required. I put it in, and he's going to lose. Jack Smith's going to win this, and Donald Trump's going to lose this motion, in my opinion. And so that's what's going on with the Fisher case. And
I agree with you. No more to add there. I agree. He's going to lose. He's going to lose. He's not going to get the 2 counts dismissed, or the 4 counts dismissed that he was trying for. You hit the nail on the head. There's a very good reason. And that is the reason that Jack Smith went back to a grand jury and got a superseding indictment before he had his new status conference in September, because he wanted the benefit of having now seen both the immunity decision penned by Chief Justice Roberts and the Fisher decision, which you've outlined, penned by Chief Justice Roberts. He wanted that. So his prior indictment, which didn't have the benefit of the new changed law, new legal landscape, he was like, well, screw that. I'll just get another indictment where I leave out certain allegations that won't fit this new box that I've been given, right? So rather than trying to bang an oval peg into a round hole, I'll just get a new round peg and I'll shove it through that hole. And that's what he's doing. And so he said, all right, I know how to indict around the Fisher decision. I know how to indict around the immunity decision. And that's what I'm going to do. And he got rid of anything that was extraneous and anything that was not going to fit with the new world order established by these 2 decisions over the summer. Boom. And there you go. And this judge, at least, first stop on the train, is going to keep the indictment, send it to the jury. You don't have to, as you said, as a prosecutor, you don't have to show all your evidence at this moment. We have that unusual circumstance that to defend the superseding indictment, he's had to put out most of his evidence. But you don't have to do it for all of these things. He doesn't say, well, we have this witness and this witness and this witness and this witness. That's all going to support it. He's got what he needs from the Fisher decision. Fake evidence. Do we have fake evidence alleged in the case, indicted in the case? Yes. What are they? The fake elector certificates. Thank you. Next, this should be a very short order by Judge Chutkan. I expect it, maybe not tonight, but I expect it any day now. I think this will be, she didn't ask for another brief. She's done with the briefs. She's going to rule. And then it's an appellate issue for whoever's on the losing end of all of that. And speaking on the losing end, Donald Trump was on the losing end of a 50-page decision, which guts his BS defenses. She was never going to let many of these defenses see the light of day and go to the jury anyway. But in advance, she's completely gutted his request for documents in order to have any of these defenses, which again are BS. In particular, Donald Trump wanted 16 categories of documents from 9 different governmental entities. He wanted to expand the definition of who is the prosecution team to include other components of the Department of Justice. The prosecutors down at Mar-a-Lago doing that other case. Oh, the prosecutors who are prosecuting the Jan 6 defendants in Washington. Everybody, the entire the national defense and intelligence community. We have to look for documents everywhere. And look, the way it works, and I'm going to turn it over to the former prosecutor who knows it well. The way it works is you got 3 types of stuff that you're entitled to as a criminal defendant in the U.S. justice system federal. You have something called Brady material. You got something called Jenks material. And then you got something called Rule 16. You ask for it. And if it's material and relevant, you'll get it material if you're a defendant. On the first 2, the government has the burden. That's what you want. You want that. The prosecutors have the burden beyond a reasonable doubt. They should have the burden to empty out all of the information that goes to either witnesses, we call that Jenks, or Brady goes to stuff that evidence that is, or information or items of discovery, documents, audio, video, text, emails, forensic results, whatever, that tend to prove somebody's guilt or innocence. And you have to, as a prosecutor, you have to turn over Jenks and Brady, or it could lead to the dismissal of your indictment or the overturning of your conviction. So you don't want to do that. And the judge warned, I think she does it in every case. I don't think she thinks that there's any evidence that Brady has been violated. But she said, prosecutors, you got Brady obligations. Make sure you go through, double check, make sure, turn it all over. On Jenks, she said, a couple of witnesses here. Yeah, probably Jenks material. On the abundance of caution, why don't you turn that over? And on the rest was Donald Trump's whole, I want the 2016 intelligence briefing about corruption in the 2016 election. Well, this is about the 2020 election. I want the Department of Justice's Bible about their 2020 election. Well, how does that link to your own criminal mind if you never got it? And so she went methodically through all of his categories. And there were a couple of things she gave him, but most she didn't. What did you take away from it from a prosecutor standpoint?
Yeah, look, as a prosecutor, when you have to turn over your whatever material to the other side, it's a slog. It's a lot of work because it's not like you open your files and give everything. When you do an investigation, your investigation, as we say as prosecutors, you follow the facts wherever they lead. And sometimes you hit 25 dead ends before you even know exactly where you're headed or what's going on. And sometimes you could go off in different directions. And then you have this investigation that goes over here and your files can be voluminous. You could look up people's social media, for example, but only a small sliver of it has anything to do with the case. And so you subpoena all of it, but you only use some of it, whatever. There's discovery could be huge and enormous. And sometimes it is just, it's tricky because it's not like you can read millions of pages of documents, which is kind of what you have now. You have terabytes of data because with emails and text messages and videos and social media and calls and all the electronic information that is now available, people leave a digital footprint behind wherever they go. When we used to go back and write these parole letters for old cases, those were letters that we'd write as young prosecutors for people who had served 20, 30, 40 years for a homicide back in the day. You have to order the file and look at it and see what position are you going to take as a prosecutor. The murder cases, I remember once there was a murder of a police officer case. The file was this thick. And for people who are just listening, I'm holding my fingers up about 2 inches. Now the amount that the files today, if you were to murder a police officer, you would have literally carts worth of records and documents and terabytes worth of data on hard drives that you'd be turning over. And the way you look through it is you do search terms in your computer, relevant search terms, to look for things that comply with these statutes. So it's just a daunting task, generally speaking, in any case. And then in a case like this, that has that absolutely spans more agencies than you can imagine, more law enforcement than you can imagine, right? January 6th, you saw the number of people who stormed the Capitol. And so again, that is relevant because he is charged essentially with that's part of his crime. So I can only imagine the millions and millions and millions of documents and data that exist in here. And of course, what is the defense trying to do? They claim they want it all. They don't really want it all, but they want to torture the prosecutors to go get it all. And then if they miss something, what is that? Reversible error. So they're trying to create a record to both really just bury the prosecution in paperwork, make it so they can't comply, and also have access to literally everything so that they can go on a fishing expedition. So this is a monumental task that they're trying to achieve. And they asked for everything. They asked for everything under the sun. And as you said, the prosecution's only required to turn over 3 types of evidence, right? Number one is Brady material. And Brady material, there isn't usually a lot of, if any, Brady material in a case, hopefully, because Brady is defined as evidence that tends to exculpate or show that the innocence of, right, of a defendant. So if somebody's guilty, hopefully there's not something in the documents that say, oh, he didn't do it, right? But if it's there, not only do you have to turn it over, you have to identify it and say, you can't just bury it in a mountain of documents and say, oh, it was in there. The needle in the haystack was in there. No, as a prosecutor, you're obligated to actually point it out to a defendant. So that's Brady. And prosecutors are like, yeah, of course we know our Brady obligation, but fine, the judge will remind them. And the second, as you put it, is Jenks material. And those are just witness statements. So prior statements of witnesses. And so basically you get to see what witnesses have said, and that is written down, prior statements. So it's usually FBI, I guess they're called 402. I think they're called 402s. I was a state prosecutor, so I think that's what they're called. FBI reports and any other place that they had written, prior statements of witnesses. And it's people who are, you have to have control over this, right? So there could be prior witness statements that are not in your control, that are in somebody else's hands, right? It has to be in the control of the prosecutor. And I'll get to that in a minute, because that's relevant here. And then, of course, the third category is what you were saying, is kind of everything else that the defendant is entitled to by statute, things like electronic recordings or scientific reports, tests, lab tests, that kind of stuff. Just things that it's like general discovery that they're entitled to. And so there's a lot here, and millions of pages have been turned over already, but they want more. And it mostly falls into the category of what you were talking about, of what's in the control of the prosecutor. And essentially, look, what is in the control of the prosecutor, right? What agencies are part of the investigation? What agencies are kind of considered part of the investigation and prosecution of this case? And here it's pretty big. And so, basically what Judge Chutkan said was, look, the entire United States government, no, that is not part of the prosecution team. The entirety of the Department of Justice, no, that's not part of the prosecution team. And that's important, because otherwise they would be tasked with looking through every single thing that ever existed, every email in the entire Department of Justice, the entire Department of Defense, the entirety of all these government agencies that truthfully had nothing to do with this. Does every single government agency have something with the word Donald Trump in there? Yes, of course, because he was president of the United States. Doesn't mean it had anything to do with this case. And so, they wanted so much. And really what Judge Chutkan did, she did an excellent job, I thought, at really kind of narrowing it down to what's relevant here and what would be fair and reasonable and relevant for Donald Trump. And so things that have to do, like things like prosecutors who worked on the case, but who are no longer working on the case, they have to look through their emails and their text messages and their files, make sure that you got everything from them, right? Make sure they didn't have something in there that you didn't have. Or, same thing with the special counsel's investigation with Mar-a-Lago. You don't have to turn over all the Mar-a-Lago stuff, but anything that you do have to search and see if there's anything relevant from those prosecutors here in the Washington, D.C. case, things like that. So, there were things that I think she gave them, very narrow, makes sense. I am certain Jack Smith already knew it, thought of it, and was looking for that because he wants it too. He wants the evidence too. He wants to know, what do we have in the Jan 6 rioters case that might help me prosecute my case? So he's already looked through all of that, through all of the hundreds of cases and FBI agents who may have written stuff down and have it in their files. So Jack Smith has already done all this. He knows it. Just because Judge Chutkan is kind of reminding them, okay, yeah, you are entitled to that. Look again. And they've already done that, and they will turn it over. I would be surprised if anything else goes to Donald Trump as a result of this order, but maybe they'll find a few pieces of evidence here or there. I have no idea. But this was not some big victory for Donald Trump.
No, I agree. I mean, the National Guard being called out, that doesn't stop the fact that he lit the fuse that almost set the Capitol aflame. I really don't care about that issue. The National Director of Intelligence, he's going to trash Donald Trump when he testifies. So he has to turn over some information about an interview with him. That's fine. So it guts Donald Trump's attempt to try to use these crazy defenses at the time of trial. But all these issues, again, that's after things. That's after I almost said Thanksgiving. That's after the election. That's going to be stuff that we're going to be dealing with in 2025, assuming Kamala Harris prevails. We got a lot more to talk about at the intersection of law and politics. We're going to talk about some things in Georgia that are important, including which is a battleground state that, if frankly, let's just call it for what it is. Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania and Georgia, game over. She's the president of the United States. And there's a path to doing that in Georgia. And I think she's been helped by some recent rulings there to tamp down on some shenanigans and mischief by the Trump-controlled state election board. We'll talk about that and some of the threats that Donald Trump has made against Americans. And we have new reporting just came out from Rachel Maddow that Donald Trump is doing it again. Talk about creating your own October surprise. Looks like he's paying off Stormy Daniels, or trying to, again, to stop her from interfering with his election chances now. I can't even believe I'm putting that sentence together, but we'll cover all of that and more. We're going to take a break for our sponsors. Don't forget, join us. It already went up another almost 500 since we started the show. Legal AF MTN on the Midas in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network on YouTube. It's me. We got to just look at the playlist. Let me just give you the rundown of the playlist. We got Dina Dahl, who's come over and done some great work with us. Got Karen Friedman, Agnifilo. So we got some great people from the Midas universe over there. We've got Mistrial After Dark clips. We've got a new show I'm doing with Dina called Unprecedented to cover what else the United States Supreme Court on a weekly basis that you can only get on Legal AF MTN. We've got Court Accountability Action, which is the leading organization that's focused, including investigative research on the fraud and the corruption at the federal court system up to the United States Supreme Court. And we're doing regular hot takes with them. In fact, some going up tonight and some going up tomorrow with Lisa Graves and Alex Aronson and Mike Sachs of Court Accountability, exclusively on the Legal AF MTN. And then I've kind of grouped my hot takes into something that I'm now calling The Intersection, of course, The Intersection with Popok. And so you can find it all there, all neatly arranged in playlists. We got a community page that's up and running. We got a shorts page that's up and running. And we have a new, we'll never replace Salty, but we have a new channel manager and video editor. Christine Imel came over from Free Speech TV. We love Christine. She just started with us. She's on her third day, and she's doing an amazing job there as well. Legal AF MTN. And now a word from our sponsors.
People often say they are surprised to learn that I'm 58 years old and I'm a grandmother. Well, I attribute that to my skincare routine because I am always trying to have younger, healthier looking skin. So OneSkin is a cream that I put on my face every single day. It has a proprietary OS1 peptide, which is the first ingredient proven to switch off the damaged senescent cells that cause lines, wrinkles, and thin, crepey skin. It's free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make your skin red, irritated, itchy, and it's really great for sensitive skin. It's dermatologist tested and approved by independent testing platforms like SkinSafe. So it was founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists. OneSkin's products are backed by extensive lab and clinical data to validate their efficacy and safety on all skin types. They've got over 6,300 five-star reviews for their full line of face, body, sun, and travel size products. OneSkin's multi-purpose products prove you don't need a complicated routine to achieve healthier skin. The cleaner that you keep your skin and use it and put these topical supplements on, they can be used with other products or treatments, and they easily fit into your current skincare routine, which is what I've done. So OneSkin, the world's first longevity company for skin, focuses on the cellular aspects of aging. It keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time only, you can try OneSkin with a 15% off code using LegalAF at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with LegalAF. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about it. Please support this show and tell them we sent you. Go to oneskin.co. There's no M at the end. It's not .com. Thank you, OneSkin.
Does this election cycle have your stress at a level 10? Is the lingering summer heat impacting your focus? Looking for some levity but need to embrace life with your hands on the wheel? Enhance your everyday with Via. Via is a company dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. From elevating your focus to chilling out after a long day, Via has something for you. With award-winning THC and THC-free gummies, Via has a dosage to encourage your comfort. No need to block off hours of the day for an unproductive high when you can experience the full spectrum of benefits from cannabis and hemp products with a microdose of THC to give you a little boost without compromising your responsibilities. Via is also well-renowned for their premium indoor THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. Unlock the power of nature with Via's organic and vegan hemp extracts, perfect for relaxation and rejuvenation. Via is the only lifestyle hemp brand. They use compounds found in hemp along with active plant extracts to create products, each with a specific effect in mind. Whether you want to get better sleep, ease anxiety, or enhance your mood, they have something for you. And if THC isn't for you, you can still take advantage of their CBD line with products designed for sleep, focus, and energy that will keep you glowing all summer and fall. And the best part? Via legally ships to all 50 states in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. To keep me sharp and on my game, I use the Elevate Focus Gummies with a low THC microdose. It's just what I need at just the right moment. And the Mango Tango flavor can't be beat. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers for their wellness needs, Via is the brand everyone is raving about. If you're 21 or over, check out the link to Via in our description and use the code LegalAF to receive 15% off. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Enhance your everyday with Via.
I feel like.
And what am I watching? Like I'm looking at another podcast. No, I was looking at stuff related to this. I assure you. Well, look, I got caught. Welcome back. Oh, live television. So Karen,
I've never seen you blush before. I've never seen you blush before, Pope.
What? Am I blushing?
A little bit.
That's because of no beard. I got to grow the beard back so people don't know that I'm blushing. I blush a lot around my new daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, she'll just give me that look. And I'll be like, and I melt, and that's the end of my productive part of my day. Let's why don't we save a little time here for the audience? We got everything in Georgia related to voting, and we've got Trump unhinged, untethered, and now threatening Americans. I'll take one. You take one. Which one do you want? We'll do a potluck.
I mean, look, Georgia, how can you even...
All right, you got Georgia. You just touched it. Go.
Look, there's a few heroes in Georgia, and I would call them the judges. What's going on in Georgia? You've got this new thing. The state election board has been stacked by Trump supporters, essentially. And look, Trump is doing this insidious thing, trying to steal the election now at the local level, right? It's all about trying to steal it by court cases, by influencing how elections are conducted. And so Georgia, he has stacked this new thing called, I don't even know if it's a new thing, but the new thing is that there's new people from Trump, new MAGA people in the state election board. And the other new thing is they're making these last minute rule requirements for all the various people in Georgia that have that are tasked with conducting the elections, running the elections, getting the ballots counted, certifying the elections. I mean, to vote at a state level is a huge undertaking that has all sorts of people involved, a lot of volunteers, some paid people, and there are people who are in charge of this, right? Whether whatever you want to call them in your jurisdiction, they could be superintendents, they could be election boards. There's all sorts of people who are in charge and tasked with doing this, because the United States Constitution says that the time, place, and manner of elections are held by the states. And so there's a state, so it's legislated in the states, there's statutes that get passed, but then you've got this thing in Georgia, the State Board of Elections, that passed these rules that essentially tried to make it really hard for the states to certify, for Georgia to certify the election. And it's all the individual counties that have to go forward and certify that, yes, there was 2 votes in my little county, and I'm certifying that's how many they were, and here's who it was for, or there's 2 million votes in my bigger county, whatever it is. You have to certify the election by a certain day. Yet these rules, there's one in particular that was widely denounced by all of the people who are getting ready for the election that's 3 weeks away, that essentially said that all Georgia ballots have to be hand counted. And what happened is there have been these decisions by these judges, Judge Mcburney in particular, our new favorite Georgia judge, who is basically said that, look, no, I might even think that hand counting is the right thing, but it would create too much chaos doing it at the 11th hour right now. There's not enough time to train people how to do this. There's not enough time to hire people to hand count, because the number of people that we have here that we have hired, or that have volunteered, or that are in place to run these elections, nobody's trained on this, nobody's prepared to do this, nobody knows. We don't have enough people to do it, even if they did it 24/7. What happens if the number comes up different than what the computer says? Then what are you supposed to do? And so essentially what Judge Mcburney ruled was that Georgia ballots are required to be, you must certify, and they must be certified by a particular deadline. And no, you don't have to hand count, and invalidated that rule. And he basically said that the hand count rule is too much, too late, and blocked its enforcement for now. He said, look, we'll consider the merits of the case for the next election. And maybe this is a good idea, but we can't do it right now. It's too soon. And he also ruled that no election superintendent or member of the Board of Elections and Registration may refuse to certify or abstain from certifying. He said that, look, you're entitled to inspect documents, but you're not entitled to delay certification or abstain from certification, which I think is good. What worried me a little bit about it is look, what if one of these bad actors certifies the wrong person just because they want to? But he also noted that that if you do detect something, the place to what you're supposed to do, if you think there might be fraud, or if you think there's something amiss, then you refer it to the DA's office. That's what you do. You don't you refuse to certify or abstain from certifying. So he basically said that, look, we don't have the budget for this. We don't have the personnel for this. We don't have the training for this. And the administrative chaos that will ensue is inconsistent with our elections and what we do here. And he also said, look, that what we have to do is ensure that our elections are fair and legal and orderly. And those are words that he used. And he hearkened back to January 6th, and he invoked the memory of the riot by basically saying, look, we see what chaos does. And so he wrote, quote, anything that adds uncertainty and disorder to the electoral process deserves the public eye. And that was my favorite line from what he worked. But
we got another judge. Let me interrupt for 1 second. Another judge right next to him, Judge Cox, who just issued a final judgment in which he's declared unconstitutional and stricken all of these new changes by the state election board. This is his companion. This is reporting just coming out. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Thomas Cox issued his order just today after holding a hearing on the challenged rules. The hand ballot, the hand counting, out. The rules related to reasonable inquiry and reasonable whatever related to the certification, out. In fact, his order was quite succinct. Let me read to you from the order. It says, we have a page from it. It says, so this is a colleague of the judge handling a similar case with the state election board. The state and the state election board are hereby directed to immediately remove these rules, the ones we've been talking about here, from their roles and official reporting, and to immediately, and it's all in caps in black letters, inform all state and local election officials that these rules are void and are not to be followed through the same mechanisms that the state election board provided such rules to the state or local election officials, or through the same mechanisms that they inform the state or local election officials of these rules pursuant to the foregoing. This is the final judgment of this court, and the matter is closed, subject to appeal. So the good news is at least two different trial judges, right, Karen, have decided that they are not going to allow the rules to get changed in September and apply to halfway through early voting and then 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before the election. Now it's up to a court of appeals in the Fulton County, Atlanta area, and then ultimately the Georgia Supreme Court. If they find it interesting, they'll move expeditiously to try to decide whether, my gut is, even Georgia Supreme Court is not going to allow this rule change for this particular election under various doctrines that I think apply here. We're just too close to have, rules change with untrained, or as Mcburney said in his order, he said, I don't want anybody touching the sacred paper ballot, which are like the votes, and before they end up getting into the lockbox for final counting. And adding more hands to this process does not make it more secure. It makes it less secure. And I thought they were worried about it. I thought that was the whole thing. They attacked Fawny Willis and Shay Moss about, the counting, and they were putting votes in instead of out when they were running the video backwards. I thought they don't like human handling of ballots. So why are they injecting more human handling of ballots? Because they want to delay things to implement the strategy that you and I just talked about. Georgia, you want to do Fawny Willis? What she's doing?
I mean, she's just if you remember, Judge McAfee dismissed some of the charges against Trump and his co-defendants, and she's basically fighting back and saying, no, you need to, she wants the Court of Appeals to reinstate them. And, I think basically what McAfee said was some of the charges that had not given the defense enough specificity about the charges to adequately defend themselves, kind of like what we were talking about before about in the DC case about the Fisher, the indictment has to give certain specificity about the charges so that it gives notice to the defense. That's what Judge McAfee said here in this, 168 page indictment or whatever it was. I mean, this is like the world's largest indictment, but somehow there was not enough specificity. And so I think Judge McAfee actually might be wrong here when he dismissed some of the charges against Trump. And so she's appealing it. And look, if I were her, I would do that. I would do that too, because there's nothing else going on down there. No one is moving too fast here. So she might as well now take the time to fight for her case. So that's what she's doing.
Yeah, I think that you're right about that. There's a couple of them she's not fighting. I mean, Judge McAfee decided back in June or July, he had 2 dismissal orders, one in March and I think one in June. The one in March is the one that she's appealing now, the 6 counts that kind of go around the Raffensperger phone call, the 11,000 vote extortion phone call. But the good news is that the heart of the case, which is the RICO conspiracy, the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, organized crime-like conspiracy that puts Donald Trump at the center of it as the head, is alive and well and kicking. I mean, Donald Trump's trying to dismiss it, and they're trying to get rid of Fani Willis still. So the hearing on whether Fani Willis is going to be the Fulton County DA to make the decisions about the case going forward is going to be held in December. And then the 2 counts that the couple of counts that she's not fighting apparently is that Judge McAfee said you as a state prosecutor don't have the right to go after what happened with the federal certificates, the fake certificates, as they wend their way into Congress and the Senate with Mike Pence. That's for federal prosecutors. And I mean, he said that knowing that, of course, Jack Smith has that as part of the DC election interference case, at least against Donald Trump in that case. So, yeah, we got to just keep an eye on Georgia. She's still, breaking bricks, breaking big rocks into little rocks, doing her job, cutting wood. She's going to get reelected. She won her primary. McAfee is on the ballot as well because it's an elected judiciary there. And he got appointed, and now he's standing for election. So this odd ballot in Georgia, at least in Fulton County, where you're going to see Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, then you're going to see Judge McAfee running, and then Fani Willis all on the same ballot. I want to get somebody that lives in Fulton County. I want to see a model or sample ballot. Please send it to me. I think I'd like to frame that. So we're left with Donald Trump going after Americans. I'm doubling down on it. Let me just explain it. This
is the scariest story we've done in a long time.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I never thought when I'm leaving law school that I'd have to brush up for this show on the Insurrection Act, martial law, the Alien Enemies Act, the Alien Sedition Act, the Posse Comitatus Act. Look at that one. I pulled that out.
I don't even remember ever hearing that word before.
Yeah, because I liked it. I like the way it's the Posse Comitatus. I liked it. And what it means is you're not allowed to use against civilians the might of the U.S. military on American soil ever. There was probably a violation of it when he ordered General Milley to clear the square behind the White House so he could walk to the church, Donald Trump, with his upside down Bible. That was the first sign that he was the Antichrist, the upside down Bible. And that was probably a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. But the problem is, just to round it out, Jeff Clark, who was the acting attorney general for 25 minutes or whatever it was at the waning moments of the Trump administration, when they said, when one of the presidential advisors around Donald Trump said to Jeff Clark, if he doesn't turn over the reins of power and transition and leave before the 20th of January, there's going to be riots in the streets, to which he coldly and callously said, that's why God invented the Insurrection Act, to suppress. You think Tiananmen Square in China was bad? Wait till you see the U.S. military being used by Donald Trump against citizens to suppress dissent about him clinging to power. So the fact that he even used the I word freaked me out. Yeah. The fact that they were considering Donald Trump and others, including Sidney Powell, who's Byrne, Patrick Byrne, Overstock.com guy, Giuliani, and others were sitting in the Oval Office and talking about suspending the Constitution, invoking martial law, and seizing voting machines, and had an executive order drafted to do those things. That's scary. And now he decides that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act, which it's only been invoked 3 times, only during war. First time, one time was the War of 1812. The second was World War II. And that was a dark mark on American history when we put into internment camps, concentration camps, not Japanese Americans because of World War II and Pearl Harbor. Okay. Eventually, the Supreme Court got around to saying that was a bad thing. But the fact that he's talking about we have a predatory surge of enemies inside our country now. And then I'm like, oh, well, who are you talking about? The Haitians in Springfield, Ohio again? And he's like, the enemies of the people are worse. We have a clip. We got he interviewed with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. This is all you got to know. Let's roll it, Salty.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years. Yeah. You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists. Right. What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. Not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Okay, so by the way, Anna Navarro, I don't know if we can put that screenshot back up. Anna Navarro, who's a Republican strategist, made this snarky comment about his appearance on Bartiromo. She said, if he gets any darker with his makeup, he's going to have to deport himself. Having said that, what do you, true, right? I mean, what was with the makeup? But it's,
That's
again,
really
it's more,
funny. It's not just the makeup, his face, he looks like he's like, I'm telling you, something's wrong with him.
Yes.
Like,
but what did you think about the enemy of the enemy within, which are all Americans, and him using the U.S. military against us?
I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, right? It's The Handmaid's Tale. It's The Handmaid's Tale is coming to life, right? This whole like obsession with babies and having as much babies as possible and controlling women's bodies and who can have babies and who can't, and what women can do with their bodies, and having the military literally do things like curfews and who can leave the house and where you can go. And it's just really horrendous, just what it is that he is trying to create. People say, listen to his words. The scary thing is, what if he wasn't telling us what he plans on doing or what he's thinking? Thank God he does, because now we know what's in his sick mind, and we know what's in store for us. But I just never even knew that the military, that this was an option, that you could use the military on our soil. I always thought it was something you have to do when you go to war against a foreign enemy or against others, right? Like, you can't use the military here. That's just not how it works. Like, we're a free society, we're a democracy, we have liberties. And the president's the commander in chief. He absolutely has the right to order them to do things, but not against us, not against the people who are civilians who live in the United States of America. And look, the Posse Comitatus Act that I'd never heard of until this whole thing has come up with Donald Trump the last couple of weeks, basically says that the federal military is usually barred from enforcing civilian laws. And that's period, full stop, right? Can't do it. That's what police are for, et cetera. Like that's how it works. But the other scary thing is that this is not an absolute rule. And in fact, the exception kind of swallows the rule here, because it allows military troops to participate in law enforcement when doing so is allowed by Congress, or the president has limitless discretion, right? It's just terrifying that the president, it doesn't give any guidance about when you can, when it's okay for the president to use it. But it lets the president use the military to take such measures that he considers necessary to suppress any unlawful combination or conspiracy that opposes or obstructs the execution of the laws of the United States or impedes the course of justice under those laws. And so it literally lets the president deploy the Marines or the Navy or anybody to arrest people that they think he thinks is engaging in an insurrection or is a traitor, or and the only recourse to take this power away from the president essentially is Congress to pass a law, but not ahead of time. President can still do it. It's if he does invoke it, if he does deploy the military, then Congress can pass a law ending the deployment. But let's play this out, right? President can refuse to sign that law, and then Congress needs a 2/3 majority to overrule it. Plus, thanks to the United States Supreme Court, he's immune. So now he can order SEAL Team 6 to kill his rivals on American territory, and he's immune. He's immune because he has the power now to do this. So he can abuse this power and be immune from it because he'll just say, it was part of my core presidential function. So, it really kind of terrifies me about what's in store if we have another Trump presidency. And he's telling us what he's going to do. So listen to his words.
Well, we've reached the end of civilization and legal AF as we know it. Thank you for joining us here for the final issue and final episode of Legal AF. Look, let's leave it on an up note. What do we call it? Popokian? Let's leave it on an up note. This is not rocket science. This is voting. And if Democrats and those that support Democratic causes, whether you call yourself a liberal or progressive, no affiliation or whatever, those that are women and those that support women, if we just vote in the numbers that we represent, we win the election. There is no doubt. I don't care what the polls, up, down, like it's a stock market, a TikTok. It's not. We are the bigger party. We have the more registration in most of these states. And if we just have the enthusiasm, and I don't need a rally. Right? Because rallies, to be honest with you, I've seen enough rallies from history, like in Nazi Germany, and they don't get me that excited. I mean, they terrify me. So I don't need a rally. That's not the level of enthusiasm we need. Just the level of enthusiasm that gets you, maybe a neighbor, maybe you drive a neighbor, especially somebody that's housebound. Maybe you deliver their absentee ballot, whatever you're allowed to do in your particular state, and you do it. And when you have the opportunity to vote, you see Georgia as your model. Day one of Georgia voting, day one of early voting in Georgia, they were expecting less than the 150,000 or so that voted at COVID. They're thinking less. It was double. 330,000 people showed up. That's a bad sign for Donald Trump, because most of the majority of early voters, mail-in voters, and absentee voters are Democrats. And Kamala Harris enjoys a 17-point advantage for what I call early voters. And they end up being about 80 million-ish of the vote total. Donald Trump enjoys a 9% advantage for people who show up the day of on election day. But that's only like 65 million people. So you do the math. If she's up 17% on an 80 million population of voters, and he's up 9% in a smaller population, it's a mismatch. Plus, Donald Trump thinks he can mean tweet his way to the White House and just do big rallies and plants at his town halls by Fox to try to help him. And that's going to win because he points, I guess, in his mind to Joe Biden during COVID, won from the basement, as he likes to say. That was a different time. We're different people. We have whole different mores and customs and behaviors and conduct. We dress differently at work. We don't show up as often at work. We live differently. The 3% surcharge for credit cards at restaurants isn't going away, apparently. I still have to box my leftovers. There's just life-altering things that happened during COVID, including voting habits. And so if we vote, and the we is the royal we, it's everybody. If everybody that not here and gets other people to vote. I'm sorry. I think I got Barack Obama personally elected. I mean, I do, because because it wasn't just me. I was responsible for at least 10 people voting for Barack Obama on election day. I know it for a fact. And I worked the polls as a lawyer for the Democratic Party, and I saved personally, this is my little bit of heroism, I saved personally at least 15 ballots that were destined for the provisional ballot pile, and worked through the law on the books at the time to convince the election supervisor for that precinct that they needed, out of a big stack, needed to go into the regular voter pile. And so, but I'll tell you what I didn't do. I didn't do that for Hillary Clinton. And then I had no one to blame the next morning, the hangover the next day, when I said, oh shit, she didn't win? I thought she was going to win that. Yeah. So for Kamala, you have to leave it on the field. You have to do everything that you possibly can do from now until the election. We got less than 20 days left, or whatever it is. Voter registration is still going on. Karen's daughter is just registered. Jimmy Carter, who may not see, unfortunately, the actual poll results, he voted already. And so that is the level. Just vote. If you just vote and bring a few more people with you, Kamala Harris is going to be sworn in as Madam President-elect of the United States, along with Tim Walz. And if you don't, then it's not just, I got to listen to this a-hole for the next 4 years. It's what it means for the guardrails around our democracy, what it means for the institutions of our society, like the criminal justice system and the judges and the prosecutors and the Supreme Court, what it means, God forbid, he gets another 2 picks and gets, for not one generation, the next 2 generations, we're going to be dealing with a 6-3 or 77-2 super MAGA majority that's going to outlive him. What can you do about it? It's easy. It's like, this is the easiest thing I've had to say all day. Vote and bring 5 or 10 other people in your family, regardless of where they live. Don't care. Don't worry about, I'm a blue dot and a red seat. I don't care. Vote. And if you got time, go and work with the Democratic Party in other states where your vote matters, and you can help them on the street. You can help them with door knocking. You don't have to be registered in that state to go knock on doors or work a phone bank. You could do that from the comfort of your own home. So I got to talk to this audience. And yes, there's still some people, I am sure, because I can tell from the chat and I can tell from personal communication to me, there are people in this audience that have still not decided who they're going to vote for. I know it's hard to believe. And that's one of the reasons at the intersection of law and politics that we spend so much time talking about and ripping back the curtain to show you who Donald Trump is and what our society will be like if he gets his hands on this democracy for another 4 years. Or as Geraldo Rivera so eloquently put it in his latest tweet, where the scales have dropped off his eyes after this amount of time, to his former loyal friend, Donald Trump. Donald Trump stabbed the Constitution in the back. Yes, I agree. It's about the only thing I've agreed with Geraldo Rivera in the last 20 years.
All right, see, I disagree. I think Donald Trump has stabbed the Constitution in the front.
Okay.
He's not even doing it in the back. He's doing it right in the front. Like, we know exactly what he plans on doing, and he's doing it. So
yeah,
that's my only
right.
quibble.
Right. What's that old line? He's got my back, because it makes it easier to put the knife there.
Yes.
That. And the other thing that pisses the shit out of me, talking about destabilizing institutions in our society, is that he turned Americans in need against FEMA. FEMA is being prevented from working in places like North Carolina and Georgia to provide aid and comfort to people in distress, because armed militia in certain areas are scaring the shit out of the FEMA workers. And the sheriffs have had to intervene. One guy got arrested already for taking up the cause, because Donald Trump has the ability to activate the sleeper cell of crazy in his party.
It's terrifying.
Right, and it's terrifying. And who would have thought FEMA, of all things, you're going to go after for cheap political gain? And then Donald Trump said, "So long, Georgia. So long, North Carolina." And then it's not like he has a shadow government ready to go in. He doesn't have a shadow FEMA. He's not providing the services. He and Billy Graham's son don't have enough water and food and fuel and rescue operations to replace FEMA. He just craps all over FEMA, and then he leaves with his little traveling circus to the next place to crap on the next place, and the immigrants there and the this there. And this is the minstrel show. This is that terrible show that he's doing. It's like a reverse minstrel show that he's doing to try to get votes at the expense of humble Americans. It's really disgusting. Are we leaving this on a positive note? I thought so for a minute.
Well, I have a positive note to leave it on.
Thank God. Go ahead.
You happened to leave out something when you talked about make sure that we stay tuned for mistrial tomorrow.
Oh, what is it?
We have a special guest tomorrow.
I love this guy.
because Danya Perry actually can't make it tomorrow. So Michael Popok is joining the ladies tomorrow. And so we are so honored that you will come back and that you will be there, and we can talk about this with Kathleen Rice, former member of Congress. She was there on January 6th. She's a former elected DA and former federal prosecutor. So we're just thrilled that
we're going to have, I think we're going to have the dump. I think we're going to have the data dump of the appendix in the DC election interference case by tomorrow. That could be the whole show. Trust me. We're going to have to divide up 500 pages like you did that one time, divide up all those pages. But I'm always honored and blessed to be a part of what you're doing over at Mistrial. You're over on Legal AF MTN. On various hot takes. I know you were away this week, but we'll get you back over there.
Yeah. I'm saying this out loud because I'm hoping that if I say it out loud and it's recorded,
you'll do it.
I'll do it. Exactly. It's exactly right. It's like telling people, yes, I'm starting my diet finally.
Right. Well, now everybody's going to hold you to it. Yeah, all right. Well,
that's what I want. That's why I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Do them. I'm going to do a lot of them between now and the election, only because we have to. We have to get it out. So I'm going to put a lot of my other commitments on hold, and we're going to do as many as we can. We're
going to win this. We're going to win this battle with Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, and everybody here and again, thank you to our audience for making the Midas Touch Network as large and powerful. It's not for ego. It's not for algorithm. It's so your voice is heard. And this is a network that we built together collaboratively with our bare hands, and now building this other pro-democracy channel, Legal AF MTN, as well for the as I said, wearing my bird shirt today, spreading our wings over at the other channel at the intersection of law and politics. So shout out to the Midas Mighty and the Legal AFers. We'll see you on Saturday with Ben Mycelis here on Legal AF. We'll see Karen tomorrow with Miss Rice and me. I'll be filling in on the matinee for Danya Perry on Mistrial, only on the Midas Touch Network. Shout out to the Midas Mighty Legal AF. See you next week.